What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Back with my review. I know it's been a little bit delayed. I watched it after Nonito Donaire versus Nicholas Walters and Triple G Rubio fight. Been pretty busy, and I wanted to give a review because I felt it was worthy of a review. And that was HBO's 24/7 episode 1 of Bernard Hopkins versus Sergey Kovalev. Now, I must say HBO, they always please me with their original programming. Just the cinematography, the way it's set up. I like Liev Schreiber, the actor who's doing the narration. Just flows, the pacing, the background music. I really like how they structure and put it together, and then they give you different elements. And I really feel it's you get a personal glimpse at each fighter, like a little bit more. Especially a real reason I like watching it too is usually on the shows you have a fighter where there's like a quote unquote A side, and we know more about that fighter. So that person on this episode would be Bernard Hopkins. He has longevity in the sport. We have tons of footage on him. We've seen him in interviews and high profile fights. We don't know as much about Sergey Kovalev. Coming from Russia, not all of his fights were televised. So I really like that how these episodes give us a little bit more to go off of. And it's almost always I learn something about these fighters. So I didn't know Sergey Kovalev and his wife were expecting their first child. So I was able to learn that in this episode. A little bit more about his background. And I really appreciate the fighter experience, man. These dudes come up tough. He was saying that back in Russia, his family was dealing with poverty and growing up poor. So he would wash cars and run newspapers, and then he'd bring back the money that he earned and give it to his mom. And his mom's like, "Where'd you get it? Where did the money come from?" And he's like, "Don't worry, this is not dirty money. This is not, you know what I mean, I didn't do anything foul to get this money." So it's just it makes me respect these fighters even more because these fighters grow up fast and they're forced to be a man even if they don't want to. You know what I mean? So you'll notice a lot of times fighters have a certain level of maturity. Like they could be 21 and a lot of them might seem like grown men. You know what I mean? You might talk to them, and if they feel like it feels like talking to a 33-year-old because they haven't had some of the same experiences. You know what I mean? They grew up in poverty, or they grew up in competitions and Golden Gloves and stuff where they couldn't go out partying while everyone else was in high school and drinking and stuff because they've been disciplined for so long. So I respect that. I like Sergey Kovalev. I like the Hopkins fight. This is a tremendous fight. Hopkins is 18 years older than his opponent. So to me, this is just marvelous that he even took this fight. This is a deadly fight. Crusher, he also seems like a likable guy. He was talking about, they were doing the ultrasound. He's like, "This is the baby's balls." Like talking about he's seen his son's nuts in the ultrasound. I thought that was pretty funny. Bernard Hopkins. I also like Nassim Richardson. I like I like watching interviews and footage, any kind of footage about Bernard Hopkins, with Bernard Hopkins, or Nassim Richardson, for a simple reason. The reason being, I feel like I learned something. Like those dudes have gems, they have knowledge, they have wisdom on the game, not even just boxing, on life. And I really appreciate that. And I try to soak it up and hear what they're saying. There's an old video of Bernard Hopkins. He was talking to Rashad Evans, MMA fighter. And he was just giving him tips about how to box better. And I just respect the way he says it and what he's saying. Like you can tell there's a lot of wisdom in there. And he was just talking in this episode about how he lives a clean lifestyle. He balances his diet. He used to think working out for 3 hours was the way to do it, but he said he learned how to preserve his body and get the most out of it and feel energized just the same. He said you're fighting for 30 minutes, so working out for 3 hours might be overkill. You don't necessarily need that. He found out the formula, the alien way of doing things, to the point where he doesn't have to exert so much energy in the gym, but he still gains the same, if not more, from like shorter workouts and just eating clean and being balanced and taking care of his body. They also showed him at the doctor office. I had already seen the pictures with, it's just funny for TV. He had the alien mask while he's doing his physical therapy or physical checkup and stuff at the doctor's. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. I also like Kovalev's trainer, John David Jackson. I like his mentality. He was basically giving Kovalev some good keys to victory. He said you can't let Bernard Hopkins get into a rhythm. You can't let him have his way and basically figure you out, because sooner or later you're caught up into his mind game and his trap, and it's already been 4 or 5 rounds and now you got to catch up. So it sounds like the game plan is to bring the fight to B-Hop. He's going to come aggressive, and he's going to try to make Bernard Hopkins feel every bit of his age. And I think ultimately that's pretty much what you have to do. You know what I mean? You have to give Bernard Hopkins a reason to want to find like a Chad Dawson way out of it in their first fight where he fell on. You know what I'm saying? You have to like out muscle him, because it's kind of like dealing with Floyd. It's very hard to outsmart him. He's very, you know what I'm saying? He's very smart and wise in the ring. So you have to do it smart but physically. You know what I'm saying? You can't necessarily just outsmart him, but you can impose your will, your strength, your size, your youth, and that kind of thing. And that sounds like that's the game plan for Sergey Kovalev. John David Jackson is set forth. He said, you got to go in there and knock this motherfucker out and get it over with. And I like that. I like that approach, because truthfully, that's what they need to do. Guys like Shumanov, they let Bernard Hopkins like psychologically fuck him and mentally get him out of their game before the fights even started. The Shumanov had no trainer, which was stupid. He was training himself, some dumb shit, and he didn't use his like physical advantages. Not to mention, I feel Kovalev shits on Shumanov and is a much better fighter in general, better boxer, more power and stuff like that. But I'm just saying Shumanov as an example, because that's Bernard Hopkins' last fight. He's younger and he had a high knockout percentage, high knockout ratio, and none of it showed in the fight. He's the one that actually got knocked down. Bernard Hopkins hit him with the sneaky punch and knocked him down. So none of it showed. No youth showed. No strength showed. He just let Bernard Hopkins have his way with him. And I think that's what John David Jackson was suggesting. Like, you can't let him get into that kind of groove, because it's a wrap. And I agree. Bernard Hopkins, very smart guy. So other than that, I like it. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the next episode. Great fight. The winner of this fight really deserves a lot of recognition in the sport. And let me know what you guys think. The link will be in the description. Shout out to HBO and HBO Sports. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.